Hi, I'm Judy Mottl. I'm editor of Retail Customer Experience, and we're at NRF with Tom Yang, Vice President, Retail at NICE. Nice to meet you, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, as we're thinking about retail customer experience and the whole funnel aspect, one critical area is around sales conversion, especially on web and on digital. So, it seems like retailers are responding to low conversion rates by using AI to help eliminate all those friction points. So, can you share more about how retailers are doing this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as we chat about this topic, first, I think it's safe to say, but just to say it, every retailer cares about conversion, number one, right? They're in it to make sales. And two, I think we articulate conversion rates as low. And I would say that maybe they're not low by historical standards, but when you talk about a 1 to 2 to 3% conversion rate, that's pretty low. You're losing 90+% of the customers in that funnel. So to come to the funnel, I think that's where traditionally, you and I are consumers. We go to a website, we do a Google search. That's the beginning of the funnel, and that's the beginning of the customer experience. I think a lot of brands these days are more focused on the latter part of the funnel, where they might already be a customer or where they might be further in the journey. But if we're talking about 90+% of people drop off, that is where the opportunity is, right?
Okay.
So now we've got to look across the entirety of the funnel, not just the one piece at the end. So for us, when it comes to AI, a lot of what we're seeing success in is using the behavior patterns, using the engagement patterns of even generic or anonymous people visiting a website to be able to serve them in a personalized way. For example, if I am hovering in a certain area, they can start to use that signal to say, he might be interested in this particular area or have this particular issue. Whereas if you are browsing on something, you have a different behavior. So even that simplicity, if you will, allows us to start to treat people in an individualized and personalized manner. It doesn't have to be only when you know them. It doesn't have to be only when they're logged in, right? Because that's a very small sliver then of your total population.
So I mean, the personalization aspect is key, right?
Yes. So I mean, personalization we've been talking about for decades and decades and decades. The question is, how do you personalize if you don't know who they are? That's been the challenge. In the last couple of years, we've seen the litany of state-level privacy laws, right, which are great, GDPR and coming to the US in essence, but at a state level means that it's also more difficult for retailers to know because every state has different laws. Every state has different compliance. So you then have to basically be in front of 50 different potential laws. And so to your point, how do we do all this personalization even with these new laws coming and going live?
Coming into play, right. So can you take us what a funnel personalized with AI looks like for the customer? Just a generic example.
Yeah, you're an anonymous visitor coming into a brand. I would say we actually start our story even before they visit your website, because you buying a product oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes is in response to solving an issue, right? Where do you and I usually start to try to solve an issue? We go to Google. We type the question in. Right there is actually where we can help retailers start to say, when they Google search for a particular problem, what if your brand could actually pop to the top of the Google results instead of some random blog? Because that allows you as a retailer to immediately intercept that search term and to have them brought to your website. So now all of a sudden, you've earned their visit, even when they weren't looking for your brand in particular. So now that you've earned their visit, they're on your website. Now they start browsing around. What products do you have? I had this problem. What products do you have to solve my problem? And we want the anonymous visitor to be able to say, kind of to your point earlier, oh, wow, I'm kind of struggling to find a product here, but here's contextual help. They don't know that it's because of their behaviors, but contextual help that comes up and says, here, let me help you with this. It looks like this is what you're struggling with.
And you're not off to the races trying to upsell me or push me in a different direction.
Exactly. And it's based on what your needs are at that moment. And then as we go through the funnel and we get into kind of more the traditional AIs there throughout, right? Do we have the benefit of automated engagement that can solve an issue or answer a question? I think a lot of consumers back away from leveraging virtual agents because they don't know if it can solve their problem. And so even for us, arming that virtual agent with that context is important, because now the virtual agent says, beyond me asking the generic question, which we all dread of, how can I help you? Well, I don't know how you can help me. Can you wash my car? Can you, now it's, hey, I notice that you're having an issue with your order process. I can help you with that. That's night and day, right? But that information permeates throughout the rest of the buying journey into the actual act of purchasing.
Right.
You know, when they click the buy button, which is another point of friction. When they become customers, of course, when they call in or email in.
Right.
So I think to your question, AI should permeate throughout the funnel
process.
using the information in the right way. When we come back to knowing what they need or what they want, we can also consciously make a decision. Should it be a live agent
Right.
or should it be a virtual agent? Because sometimes for certain types of topics that are more sensitive or require
Right.
more information, we might just want to skip the virtual agent altogether.
Right.
That's a better customer
Because
experience.
sometimes just
right?
from the chat box, you can tell what's bothering a person and how
Exactly.
they write it.
Exactly.
You know, to me, that's where AI can come in and
It
make
is,
it
yeah.
more personal.
And
That's
I
great.
think that also speaks to, well, how do retailers even know in the first place what is an easy answer versus what is a difficult
Right.
answer? And that's where a lot of analytics come in AI and analytics.
Right.
Because we can look at millions and tens of millions of interactions
All
and
that
say,
data.
right, what kinds of interactions were easily solved, and
Right.
that should be a virtual agent, versus what kinds of interactions were not, and that should be a live agent, right?
Right.
So that's kind of a virtuous cycle for retailers to be able to understand and then plan and then design and then execute and then understand and then plan and design it. That's a
Right.
virtuous
It's
cycle that should
constant.
keep going.
Well, it's been great talking with you,
Yeah.
Tom. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
We're signing off from NRF.
All right. Thank you, everyone.